We have come to the end of our two-day conference, IIMPACT2014, I Am the Change. We must become the change we want to see. Change is the essence of life. Be willing to surrender what you are to what you could become. Change is the only constant. We have heard stories over the past day and a half, stories that exemplify the above truths on change, stories that epitomize change for the better. These stories were in the form of reflections, shared experiences, and heartfelt anecdotes. They were fascinating, heartwarming, stirring, engaging, and inspiring. I've run out of adjectives. We are truly overwhelmed by the collective wisdom of our speakers, some iconic, all illustrious. We listen to inspiring stories on how learning is being disseminated in this technologically advanced and highly connected world, from the online model followed by Coursera to the grassroots model followed by IIM Foundation. We listen to a truly engaging story of Tony Fernandez, who, while he regaled us with his sense of humor, also showed us his sense of purpose and determination in running his low-cost airline so successfully over the last 13 years. We listened to a wonderful conversation between Piyush Gupta and the Prime Minister, Mr. Lee, with insightful questions and exemplary answers. We had some wonderful sessions this morning which were evocative and which spoke about life beyond corporate. We have wonderful takeaways from these sessions. The one thing that I want to mention here is that we all have to find that meaning and purpose in our lives that works for us and carry on from there. Like the Prime Minister said, we hope I'm the change will not just remain a nice slogan, but become something we can all apply to our lives. Once again, we are indeed honored to have with us the esteemed Deputy Prime Minister of Singapore, Mr. Tharman Shanmugaratnam. Mr. Tharman has been very supportive of our endeavor since inception in 2005. It was indeed at his behest that our Guru, Venki Krishna Kumar, encouraged us to form the Pan IIM Alumni of Singapore. And thus, IIMPACT as a movement was born, and it could not have survived and grown from a fledgling event in 2005 to an event of this magnitude without the support and guidance of Mr. Shanmugaratnam. I would now like to invite Mr. Piyush Gupta on stage to welcome Mr. Tharman Shanmugaratnam.
Deputy Prime Minister Tharman Shanmugaratnam, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really pleased to welcome all of you to this last session of what you will agree with me has been an absolutely exceptional day and a half. Renuka showered you with a string of adjectives. I will add to that. I just thought it was really enthralling, it was enriching, it was energizing. Like I said, altogether, truly exceptional. And I think in many ways it lived up to this billing of I'm the change, to disrupt, to transform. People spoke of transformation in varied disciplines. So education, transformation in sports, perhaps most important for large parts of today, transformation in the governance process, transformation in how societies work, transformation in democracies. People spoke of transformation in corporations, Generation Z, and how the new generation wants to work and how they relate to themselves. Perhaps importantly, people spoke about change and change in ourselves, connecting with the inner self, centering ourselves, because that's what will allow us to work collaboratively for a better tomorrow. There are scores of inspirational stories from people who have been the change themselves, leading the way and showing, yes, we can. Renuka spoke about Tony yesterday. I thought Tony was quite delightful. He always is. But I thought Muruganam today actually upped the bar. What I found particularly insightful is his reflection that if you really want to be different and innovate, you need to focus on two things. And he listed them. He said, focus on the problem. And then he said, focus on your wife. And it seemed to me they were both the same thing. I have to say, I feel that over the last day and a half, we made substantial progress in achieving what I saw as a few important objectives. The first is this overarching objective about building the IIM brand. We've reflected on this before. This is a great brand. It has just not been able to get the extent of resonance and recognition around the world. And so making a collective effort to do a few things, creating some platforms that put some energy and some panache behind the brand is a good thing. I think we made substantial progress with that. Our second objective was to continue to work on making Singapore the global hub for the IIM community. Singapore is a fantastic country, and it's a fantastic global hub for so many different things. We believe that we have the opportunity to make this the central hub for the IIM community, the IIM diaspora around the world. And I think over the last few years, we're beginning to make great progress in achieving that objective. I think there was an underlying objective in helping us all reflect on ourselves, our lives, our objectives, and how each of us can be leaders, how we can inspire and drive a difference in the world of tomorrow. I think we made progress with that. And finally, we had the objective of trying to network, of getting together as an alumni community, as a body, being able to have some fun. And I think we did some of that too, and I'm sure we're going to do a lot more of that later tonight. I think I owe several thanks to a lot of people. First to the Prime Minister for being with us yesterday evening. Several of you have commented on the fact that the discussion was candid. I asked him some questions which you could deem as a little challenging. I feel comfortable doing that because the Prime Minister is exceptional. He is broad, he is very thoughtful, and he's very deft. So I know he has no problem handling any questions I throw at him. I want to thank the Deputy Prime Minister. You've been a patron and a supporter over the years, DPM. Thank you for gracing the occasion this evening. In absentia, I want to thank a really important person, and that's President Nathan. President Nathan is our patron, and he's actually been the driving force and the inspiration behind a lot of what the IIMPACT has been able to do, including scaling up the event last year to try and make it a global event. Health conditions don't permit him to be with us, so Ambassador Gopi joined us as his emissary yesterday. But like I said, in absentia, I think we owe a vote of thanks to President Nathan. Obviously, to the range of speakers, people have traveled from around the world, from as far as the US, different parts of India, to be here. And so thank you all. Your presence is what makes this event so interesting and fascinating. And thank you to all of you, of course, for spending the weekend and bringing energy to this day and a half. But I want to reserve a special word of thanks for the organizing committee. Several people have come to me and commended me on a great event. I have to tell you, I have nothing to do with this. The organizing committee does a yeoman's job because it's a voluntary committee. It comes together from several schools, all IIMs, several cohorts and batches ranging 20, 25 different years, works over weekends, spare time to pull together what is truly an exceptional event. And so my hats off, kudos to that organizing committee. So where do we go from here? I think we're making great progress. I think this notion of using Singapore as a global hub for the IIM community, the IIM diaspora, we're well on the way. And Sanjeev will talk to you about it a bit later. But I think we have the opportunity to do this, but we've got to keep this momentum going. And the reality is that's not easy. I spoke to you about the resource commitments in terms of manpower, people resources. How do we bring enough people together to keep this show on the road? The resource commitments in terms of pure financial commitments. This is not an easy thing to pull together, and so financial support is the other thing that we need to look at. But it just seems to me that we have a good thing going. And if we can collectively put our shoulders to the wheel, I think we should be able to take this to bigger and better places. One of you had this idea today that we should make sure everything's on YouTube. So this could be the TED Talks of the IIMs in the Indian world. I think there's a lot of opportunity. And with all of your support and all of your commitment, I think we can take it higher and faster and further. Thank you all for being here. Have a great evening.